We have analyzed your defensive capabilities as being unable to withstand us. If you defend yourselves, you will be punished.
Hey guys, before I get started today, let me give out a quick, I am so sorry. I completely screwed up. It's nobody's fault but my own. Yesterday, the reason I didn't have a video up is not because of any huge crisis or anything like that. I simply forgot that I had a eye doctor's appointment that morning. So what happened was on Sunday, since it was Mother's Day, I figured, oh, I got Monday morning, I can do the video then. And I spent Sunday with the wife. And then on Monday, I'm getting up, getting ready to work. And the wife's like, okay, you ready to go to the eye doctor's? And I was like, oh, crap. So for that, guys, I am truly, truly sorry. I try to get out a video every weekday whenever possible. I will continue to try to put out a video every weekday whenever possible. But sometimes life gets in the way, and I would rather be more consistent. I want to be as consistent as I possibly can because you guys deserve that. You guys have been nothing but wonderful to me. I so appreciate all your support, not just the patrons, of course, but those of you that just subscribe and watch regularly. I love you guys. I can't believe that so many of you are actually enjoying my videos. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm truly sorry from the bottom of my heart. I will try not to let it happen again. However, I am only human, which means that sooner or later, I'm going to screw up again. I did do a little live stream yesterday to try and make up for it, which of course promptly got demonetized by YouTube because we ended up talking about the dreaded SJW topic a little bit. And that probably caused this video to be demonetized now. We'll see. Anyway, let's get into Descent. Last time on the Anti-Trekker, the Enterprise responded to a distress call and a bunch of murderous, angry, and individualized Borg were there. They completely overpowered the Enterprise and her crew, and then they left. Because quantum. Well, Picard orders the Enterprise back to Oniaka 3 to pick up Riker, Worf, Data, and the body of... Oh, wait, no, she's never mentioned again. Never mind. Riker is more concerned with Data than with the crew member who just died defending them, but, you know, quantum. Data realizes that he was angry and is understandably concerned over that. After all, if Data can get angry and kill people as a result, should Data ever happen to meet RianJohnson, well, murder it is. Anyway, we can always hope, right? I mean, after what he f***ing did to Star Wars, he deserves to. I, Michael J. Crawford, a.k.a. the Anti-Trekker, do not endorse the physical harm of RianJohnson. Under no circumstances am I suggesting that anyone take action that could cause both directly and indirectly any physical harm to RianJohnson. Now, I did say physical harm. I didn't say anything about... Anyway, we then get a really, really stupid log entry from Picard.
Captain's log, stardate 46982.1. Because of his unusual behavior on the planet's surface, Commander Data has asked to be temporarily relieved of duty.
So... look, I get that on the Next Generation we're trying to be a kinder, gentler kind of Starfleet than the original series. But are you seriously telling me that Data can literally take a stress day in the middle of a Borg invasion because he had bad feelings?
Unfortunately, this means he will not be able to help us investigate a disturbing new change in the behavior of the Borg.
And the way that Picard even phrased it, that due to Data's request, they are unable to get him to help with the problem at hand? What? F You, Jerry Taylor. I know that you guys wanted to make Starfleet all happy and peaceful, but do you really think the Federation is... Wait. Never mind. I'm sure you actually do think that you can just take a day off in the middle of a war. I'm really sure you probably think that soldiers should only have to fight when they're feeling like it. F*** you, Jerry Taylor. F*** you too. So, they have a meeting, and Riker compares the new Borg to fighting the Klingons. Aggressive, bloodthirsty, and most importantly, individualistic. Riker then apologizes to Worf for comparing the Borg to Klingons after talking about how hard they were to beat. Now, keep in mind, this is the end of Season 6. There's only one more season of Star Trek The Next Generation to go. Riker knows Worf by this point. He knows that if anything, comparing a vicious, bloodthirsty, brutal, and tough enemy to the Klingons is a compliment to Worf. Why is he apologizing? And further, why, when he said no offense, why did Worf just look at him like, well, no, that's quite all right. I'm not offended by that. No, Worf should have been, I am proud to be a warrior. You know, what is going on here? So, Picard, of course, asks them to figure out if the radical new emotional behavior of the Borg, a race that up until now has shown no emotions, has anything to do with Data suddenly having emotions. And, oh, wait, that's right. No, Picard doesn't do that because he suddenly becomes stupid for some reason. Quantum. Well, Worf mentions that when talking about how the Borg appear to be individuals, that one Borg called out to another Borg by name, and Troy chimes in to tell them the only Borg who ever had a name was Hugh, and they gave it to him, which is, of course, complete and utter bullshit. Aside from the fact that the Borg have designations which is synonymous with names, well, even if you want to insist that that does not count, what about the name Locutus? I wish I could say that Ronald D. Moore and Jerry Taylor simply forgot about Locutus, but later in this same episode, they mention Locutus. You, Jerry Taylor. So, Dr. Crusher speculates that maybe Hugh has something to do with this change in the Borg, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Despite the fact that we will eventually find out that yes, Hugh is the cause of all of this, it still makes no sense within the universe. Back in Iborg, they let Hugh go back to the collective in the hopes that his sense of individuality would infect the rest of the collective. Okay, that would be fine if the Borg had never assimilated an adult from a sentient, independent species before.
But wait, you yourself argued that in Best of Both Worlds, the Borg changed from wanting to only assimilate technology to wanting to assimilate life forms, so they never had assimilated individuals before.
Well, that would be true if they were being at all consistent. But in fact, in Best of Both Worlds, Picard had to deal with the change in the Borg priorities that they did, in fact, used to only be interested in technology. Now they seem to be interested in biological assimilation as well. But in this episode, Picard will later say that the whole purpose of the Borg Collective from the beginning was to assimilate cultures and technology. So which is it?
But wait, even if that's true, the Borg obviously wipe out memory of the individuals involved.
Wrong answer. First, they simply do not do this. They don't show the Borg wiping out people's memory when they're assimilated. And second, it would go against the whole purpose of assimilation. The idea is to absorb the information that the individuals have into the collective so that they can improve themselves. So, for example, in Best of Both Worlds, they assimilated Picard and immediately they knew all of what Picard knew, which means they knew how to defend themselves against the super mega death ray, and they also knew how to adapt to Starfleet tactics instantly. The same would be true of all life forms that they would assimilate. So it makes no sense that they would wipe their memories, because that would defeat the whole purpose other than simple biological increasing the numbers. But then the Borg would never improve themselves, which later on is the whole driving factor of the collective. So it just doesn't make sense. Either if the Borg have been assimilating individuals for centuries, as they seem to imply here, then there is no way in heck that Hugh re-entering the collective after a few days of independence would have any kind of impact. If the Borg hadn't been doing that, well, then they should have fell apart after they assimilated Picard, because Picard was an independent person before they assimilated him. So they would have had just as much knowledge of individuality from Picard as they got from Hugh. In fact, they probably would have gotten more, because they got an entire lifetime's worth of memories as opposed to a few days. The problem here is very much the same type of problems that we see with The Last Jedi. Ronald D. Moore and Jerry Taylor do not give a crap about the lore that came before this episode. If you're going to write an episode about the Borg, then you should pay attention to what the lore on the Borg is. But what makes this even worse is that they obviously do know the lore. At least somewhat, since they included Hugh and Locutus in the story treatment. And in fact, Ronald D. Moore worked on Best of Both Worlds. So they really have no excuse to not know the lore. Heck, one of these two was part of creating the lore. So why did they change all the little stuff? Reasons? Quantum? F*** you, Jerry Taylor. So it makes no sense in iBorg that they would think that Hugh would have any kind of impact if, in fact, the Borg have been assimilating people for centuries before this. Further, it makes no sense that nobody is even curious to if the radical change in the behavior of the Borg is in some way connected to the radical change in the behavior of Data. Heck, a more logical question, rather than just assume that it's Hugh, as Dr. Crusher so brilliantly does, but of course they only have her say that because that isn't, it's just foreshadowing. We will find out in part 2 of this episode that it was indeed Hugh that triggered all of this. But despite all that, it doesn't make any sense that she would make that assumption at this point. There's no indication that Hugh is the cause of this. However, there is a logical leap that you could make here that I think would actually lead you down a more interesting path and could have become a completely different story. You see, what about that ship? Right? We never, by the way, get an explanation as to where the ship came from. We don't know whether, even though Picard asks the question, let's figure out if it's something they built or if it's something they captured. We never find that out. But that ship should have been the source. The logical thing to think as far as what's going on is that, well, let's think about this for a moment. We have the Borg, an alien race devoid of emotion with this collective consciousness that are cybernetic. All of a sudden, behaving as individuals, acting aggressive and highly emotional. At the same time, Data has a sudden flash of aggressive emotion. Perhaps there's something on the ship that is causing cybernetic beings to have emotion. Now, that could be a whole lot more interesting, this whole lore thing. No, not Lore Reloaded, Lore Data's brother. Yes, he's involved. But imagine how Picard would feel if this alien ship was causing untold destruction and the Borg were helpless to fight it because they become enraged and lose their ability to connect to the collective whenever the ship is nearby. What kind of a dilemma do you face then? Because on the one hand, that ship is dangerous and could wipe out lots and lots of Federation colonies and stuff. But on the other hand, that ship is immune to the Borg and disrupts them whenever it approaches. Not only that, but based on this transwarp conduit thing, it can get to Borg space in a heartbeat. So, do you help the Borg against a common enemy? Or do you encourage the aliens to seek out the Borg? What do you do? This could have been a much more interesting story than the snooze fest that we ended up getting. But then, f*** you, Jerry Taylor.
We are the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will lower your shields and click on the like button and leave a comment for the anti-tracker. If you have not before, you will hit the subscribe button and the notifications icon so that you can hear more from the anti-tracker. If you have suggestions on how to improve this channel, you will leave a comment in the comment section below. If you appreciate the work put into these videos, you will go to https://www.patreon.com/Michael J. Crawford, link below, and support this channel. Excuses are irrelevant. You will comply.